mic on?
Ready?
Test.
Okay. So today is the third Tuesday in October, and therefore we are here for another. Thank you. That was not working from notes, obviously. Third Thursday in October, and it's another Council Connections opportunity. Today we are going to be talking with Alice Cross from the Welcome Committee, and we'll get to her in just a minute. First, a couple of announcements about what's going on around town now. Today is October the 15th, and is, as most of you probably already know, the last day to make a contribution to the Employee Appreciation Fund for this year's distribution. So for those of you who've been sitting on your wallets, now's a good time to let them loose and take care of that little piece of business. In addition, if you were watching this station yesterday afternoon, you had an opportunity to see the candidates, most of the candidates that are up for election to for next year's resident council make a presentation. So my plea to you is, if you haven't seen that, it's available on YouTube. If you have seen it, then you have some sense of the candidates' perspective on what's going on. The election is ongoing now through noon on Monday, so please exercise your right to vote. In this morning's council meeting, we spent some time talking about the upcoming general membership meeting, which will be done on the 29th, 28th. On 1340, it'll be a virtual meeting, if you will. We're planning to just kind of review what we've done this year, highlight some things. If there's some things you would like to see us talk about, please get a hold of Suzanne or me or any other council member. We'll try to work them into our little program. We also spent some time this morning talking. Michelle came in and went over some things with us, and she's going to have some very interesting announcements over the next few days. Future council connections shows will feature in November. The Landscape Committee is Deborah Moore, and Dining will have Joan Kleinegris, and I always say her name wrong, and I apologize for doing it. So that's something to look forward to. So now we have Alice Cross, who has been the chairperson of the Welcome Committee for a little while. How long have you been the chairperson?
I can't even tell you. A long time.
A long time.
I looked up a little history. It turns out that the committee was begun because the original management had visited other CCRCs and found that they had very successfully functioning welcoming committees. So she decided that we should have one. So this was, I did not come until the second year that Woodland Pond was open. The first year, there were a few people that were effectively starting the welcome committee process, one of whom stopped by our room the first day we were struggling with our boxes and said, "Would you like to go to dinner with me?" And that was heaven to have that, receive that invitation. And that's what's so sad now, that we can't do that. But at any rate, I must have joined it 2012 maybe, and have been going ever since, not as chair always, but it's a wonderful group because it's all, I think everyone here is wonderful, but not everyone wants to fuss with sort of nurturing new folks and making sure they are very comfortable. And when you meet them in the hall, or if you meet a stranger in the hall, you be sure to connect to make sure that they are thriving. So it's a pretty large committee because it's spread through the three wings. We have specifically, so when someone moves into the North Wing, we have members of the committee who live there and can conveniently keep track and help the newcomers. It's been very difficult for the new residents and hard for us to figure out how to make them feel welcome when our core event, which is dining, cannot happen as a group. And that's how you get to know other people.
Stay tuned for more information on that. I think Michelle's going to have some good news for us coming
Oh,
up.
well, it is absolutely, especially, I imagine these new folks that came in, not only did they not know anyone here, because all of us can sit in our rooms and just think of all the people that we know that are in the building, and that just is a moral support. But these folks who know almost no one, and they're confined to their apartment for 2 weeks, it's a really tough assignment. Of course, nobody can help it, and we all feel very grateful for our restrictions, and we feel safe and fortunate, but it has been a challenge, and we've tried very hard to keep up the spirits of ourselves as well as the new folks that have been coming in.
So what is your own background? What brought you to this activity as something that you feel comfortable doing?
I guess I'm one of those nurturing, people-centered persons who naturally gravitated, as do some of the other people that are members of the committee. They were so grateful for having a mentor when they moved in. They said, oh, that's exactly the kind of committee.
Like you said, the fellow who invited you to dinner. Yeah.
Right. So not everyone is interested in worrying about other people's well-being. They have other contributions as they make to this community.
Speaking only for myself, I know our experience was that we were overwhelmed, and it was two of us. Some people come in as one, and maybe they feel more overwhelmed. But the mentor we had was exercised just the right amount of attention to us, and gave us enough elbow room to. And we did get a hold of her for a couple of things. I can't recall now specifically what, but it was nice to know that there was somebody there who was going to listen and going to point us in the right direction.
Well, that's a point to be made, that there are no dumb questions.
Mm-hmm.
And if the mentor can't answer the question, they can tell you who can.
Who can, yeah. So how frequently does your group meet?
We have committee meetings once a month. And the people who are actively mentoring new residents try to spend as much time as they can. What we used to do was be sure to escort them to different activities and meetings and movies. And so this has fallen by the wayside a bit. And then we have an orientation, and it used to be a social, because we could have cookies and coffee and tea and lemonade and a very happy time where we introduce ourselves and we learn of amazing coincidental connections that so many of us here have with each other that we never dreamed from way back, or knowing someone in common. But we still have these orientation meetings without the sociability, and because we can't even mix and visit, and without the use of the microphone, some people can't hear very well. So there are all these side issues that.
But I noticed that what you did do is you use the Woodland Pond magazine to put short bios of different people in there, so that at least their face is getting out there and some information is about them is getting out there, and maybe some of those connections can be made.
That's right. In fact, one of my connections with this latest group was that she went to the same high school I did in Southern California. So
wow.
that was pretty amazing. And we've had some nice visits about that. Something you said struck, I was going to say something. What did you just say?
I don't know.
Okay.
Oh, something about the write-ups, the small write-ups.
Oh, yes, that is brilliant.
Yes.
I don't know where that came from. Halima did it with Gretchen's help and so on. And we're going to do this now. And we used to just have the separate bios written by the separate people as they came in, and then put in the notebooks, as you may be familiar with, in the lounges and the library and the lobby. but we're going to do this. Halima has agreed to interview the people directly when they come in. And then Carl Rodman is going to work with Gretchen to get the pictures, and they will be bigger, of course, and they will in fact use the ones from this latest issue
Yeah.
and get them
Good.
enlarged and into the books. And
Good.
that's brilliant.
Now, who does your, changing subjects for a second, who on the management team does your committee interrelate to? You interrelate with marketing or
Yes,
finance?
we
or
work
what?
closely with marketing, and also we felt responsible for these new folks, but that is not our task. The administration needs to deal with any issues that we find for people that are needing help in some basic way,
But marketing lets you know who's coming and when,
and where they come from,
Mhm.
and who their mentor will be. Courtney asked me ahead of time and for the name of the mentor, and some people call the mentor even before they get here.
Oh,
So it's a very interactive relationship. And where does marketing's orientation materials end, and where do ours begin, because we have booklets that we give out and so on.
Mhm.
So it's definitely cooperative.
good. If somebody is a mentor, I know this is going to vary, but how much time do you think they invest in a given resident?
It depends on the person.
Mhm.
Some
But
people,
they better be ready to go to work. Though, right?
yes,
You know.
people like Dave and Sue Smith were delightful to mentor because they were pretty self-sufficient, but not everyone is.
Well, you get to pet the dogs too. So.
Yeah. So it varies a lot. And there, for example, when the system was changing over with Spectrum, there was a terrible delay of service, and the mentor worked desperately to get that resolved. So it varies so much, but it's not a small commitment. And that's why we have a large committee, and also it's a pretty stable committee. We always say, if you want to join, the door is open, but we can't have people going off because it takes quite a long time to get into the swing of being a mentor, and you have to be flexible and so on. So there's a lot to the particular committee.
What do you think is the most fun about somebody being a mentor?
You get to know all the new people. That's really wonderful. And because it's sort of getting out of hand with such a large population now, because we meet with them, we know our plan, meet with the others with orientation. And then you see them in the hall and strike up a conversation.
And you get feedback from them from time to time?
Oh, yes, we encourage.
Stories you want to tell about that?
Ahead of time, I might have been able to.
I don't mean to, if I didn't say this already, what's the hardest part about being a mentor? And how do you overcome it?
Well, to sense and it's just temporarily stressful process, having been through it ourselves, of course, to move in. And sometimes people the question is this a fundamental problem or a temporary problem? And we try to take care of it if it's a temporary problem. If it's more fundamental, then we have direction as to where to go to get help from the administration.
That's all the questions I have for you. I know you have some notes there. Was there something I didn't get to that you wanted to highlight? And I see you have one of your members has joined us.
Yes, one of the hardest working. And we when a new person comes in, a new name is given to us by marketing. Then we have, in our meeting, we discussed who is going to be their mentor.
And that's somewhat based on if they live in the same wing or on the same floor.
Yes, exactly, very much so.
Mhm.
Yes. And then the second, we have a backup mentor also for each person. It's an example of the outstanding communication between staff and residents, um, which is just phenomenal. And that's, everyone says that. And the residents agree. They say it's the best eventually. Some people aren't happy about coming in, but think, no, they should, or their children say they need to or something. But usually across the board, it's the best decision I ever made, or it's turned out so well, and so on. So that's very supporting and validating. We're just concerned about the quality of life and try to make it the best that can be for each of us here.
I know from reading your minutes that a wide variety of topics get brought back to you. Some you can fix, some you can pass along, and some you just have to shrug at, I guess. Huh?
Well, it is always, is this our concern, or is it actually management or residents council? But we try, if it's not our issue to solve, we try to express it to wherever it can be solved.
Sure. Anything else? Audience? No
Additions,
no participation from the
subtractions?
audience? If not, I'll shift gears again.
Annette?
One thing that you could emphasize, we need everybody to help welcome the new people, particularly now. Because the vendor can't do it all, and the isolation stuff.
You probably couldn't hear that. That's one of our most active members of the committee. She was saying that we especially now depend on everyone to help mentor. If you don't recognize a person, go up to them, find out who they are, welcome them, and so on.
Tell them they have a nice mask. Tell them they're wearing a nice mask, if that's all you have to say to them, right?
Well, yes, that's one thing I do say.
That's a
because
conversation starter.
it depends on the whole community, as you know, and most of us, I think, are pretty aware of that, but it's even more necessary now with us not mixing and matching as we usually are able to.
Anything else? Okay. I have a couple jokes. At least I hope they're jokes. I did not get a chance to review these with the council this morning, but they've been reviewed by my wife and found to be suitable for mixed company. Friendship is when people know all about you, but like you anyway. And then, what did our parents do when they were bored and had no internet? Well, I asked my 18 brothers and sisters, and they didn't know either. The audience is laughing. You know that great feeling when you get into bed, fall straight to sleep, and wake up feeling refreshed and ready to take on the day? Me either. I don't think anybody knows that right now. We're just weary. The brain is an amazing organ. It works 24 hours a day, 365 days a year from birth until you fall in love. Then all bets are off. Last one. Every woman's dream is her ideal man takes her in his arms, throws her on the bed, and cleans the whole house while she sleeps. Thank you for listening and watching.
Oh no, most of them are true.